go through your partnership with us, which is I think a pretty standout feature of our partner program. Also with marketing, I really encourage you to call in and ask for access to our Partner Resource Center. So in fact, in the Partner Resource Center is a 14-page ebook about how to price and position your online backup service. Also, if you go to the home page of the reseller section of our website, there's a white paper that you can download there about how to price and sell online backup as well. So those are resources that you can get access to while you're just thinking about becoming a partner, but there's an immense library of resources available to you once you have become a partner. So that marketing library is a very powerful part of our solution. I'll just take a minute just to spin across to our website to show you what I'm talking about there, so that you know where to go to find this material. If you go across to the SOS for Resellers page, this white paper here has got some very valuable information in it, and recommend everybody download that white paper. Also, if you click here on the Partner Resource Center, you can see all of the different resources that are available to you in there. So everything from email templates to pricing guidelines, sales presentation templates similar to the one I'm using today. There's a 14-page ebook which lays out all of the various mechanisms that our partners have used over the last 10 years to be successful in online backup, and that's a wonderful tool to get started in the industry. There's full training, so the SOS University, quote unquote, we've got webinar trainings that go on every day. There's a bunch of pre-recorded trainings in there, from technical training to sales training to support training. So there's a very rich library of resources available to you there in the PRC, and you can get access to this by calling in and talking to one of the partner specialists. Really recommend you do that. And if not, you can also get that white paper straight off the homepage of the reseller portal there. All right, so let me flip back to PowerPoint. Okay. So how do people sell online backup, and who are they selling it into? What this slide does is lays out the particular vertical markets that people, when I say people, I'm really talking about existing partners. So where we're seeing existing partners have great success from an industry standpoint is dealt with in the right-hand column. And the industries here that have been particularly rich markets for online backup is the medical and healthcare industry, which, because of the HIPAA regulations pretty much dictate that anybody with EPHI, Electronic Protected Health Information, must use an online backup service. Now, the regulations, of course, do say that, but what they say is that if you've got digital data, it has to be backed up off-site, it has to be fully versioned, and it has to be encrypted. Well, what that pretty much nets is that they have to use an online backup service. So this applies to any medical or medically affiliated business, from hospitals to labs to general practitioners' offices, physiotherapists, dental practices, and on and on. So whichever geographic community you're serving, you've almost certainly got HIPAA. You've almost certainly got businesses in your area that are subject to the HIPAA regulations and are very rich targets for your sales efforts for your online backup solution. And I'd like to point out that most online backup service providers are not HIPAA compliant. So from a competitive differentiation standpoint, that's very important. In the financial services industry, similarly, you've got the Sarbanes-Oxley regulations, which prescribe very similar rules and regulations applicable to accountants, financial services companies, public companies, and even small public companies. So the fin services industry in general is another particularly rich market. Legal and government have always been rich sectors for online backup. There's no prescription that these areas of the market use online backup. Nevertheless, they have been very early adopters of the technology. In the legal industry, you've got most state bar associations recommending that law firms use online backup. They're not prescribing it, but they are recommending it, and the American Bar Association has also made a recommendation to all lawyers across America to use online backup. In the government space, government were in fact some of the pioneers of online backup technology. It wasn't called online backup then, or software as a service, or cloud-based backup, but it was remote backup over the network. So local and state government are very good customers, and if you've got those in your customer mix, then they can be very attractive places to start your sales efforts. And then the education sector. So if you've got schools and we actually had a lot of partners earlier who said they were focusing on the K-12 market. Education market's a very rich market for online backup, usually selling to parents on behalf of kids when you're looking at the K-12 market. When you move on to the tertiary education market, there's quite a good business in selling to universities for universities to provide this technology to their students. So local colleges or larger tertiary education institutions providing this as part of either a paid service to their student base or a free service to their student base. Another very common deployment scenario. So if you have any businesses in those 5 verticals in your market, or indeed in your existing customer base, then online backup is probably a pretty good fit. On the left-hand side is the different ways that the technology can be sold. So particularly the business need or the business solution that you're selling into, obviously can be sold as a general backup or disaster recovery tool, and that's probably one of the most, well, it is the most common way that the technology is sold. But then there are some more specific sales approaches. So we've got a lot of partners who position this as just a laptop fleet solution. So you might walk into a medium-sized enterprise who have a great product in place to back up their data center, but who have a lousy product in place backing up their laptop fleet. So I think what you'll actually find is, if you go out and survey the small and medium businesses in your area, is that they're not backing up their laptops properly at all. So the laptop fleet protection is a massive market, and something that online backup has really been taken to very well. Similarly with branch offices are often outside of the corporate backup regime and are not easily brought into the centralized backup regime. So again, that's a very attractive target for you to sell into. More traditional applications of the technology are server backup, so email servers, application servers, database servers, obviously. And then also some of these newer applications of technology I talked about earlier. So selling this as a remote data access solution, selling it as a mobile data access solution. We've got partners who are having quite good success using that as either a loss leader to get people starting to use their technology, or just as a flat-out sales point. If we turn then to examples of how partners are selling it, so this will resonate. There was a few partners earlier who said on the line who said they sell it to the K-12 market. Well, the partner in this first case study was doing exactly that. So they're a small partner, 15 employees, are selling to small businesses and to the student, the K-12 market. So the reasons they came to SOS was that they were looking to add, obviously, a new revenue stream. They were launching a data services business unit within their existing customers. This business was already a managed service provider, so they were really just looking to add additional service lines to what they were offering their customers. The reason they chose SOS over our competition, firstly, our brandability. So I think our rebranding program is second to none. I think anybody on the line who's had a mock-up, actually that's a good indication. Anybody on the line who hasn't got a mock-up yet to see what their product could look like. But anybody who's had a mock-up knows how strong our branding program is. And then also our technology. So in general, well, in this particular case, the partner actually sold through their entire commitment in the first 2 months. So that was a very successful deployment. Surprisingly, a lot of you are saying you have not yet received a mock-up, which we should remedy that immediately. So if you can call in and talk to a partner specialist and say, I'd like to see a mock-up of what my technology would be like. And if you give them a logo, they'll then give that to our art team, and our art team will put together a product sheet that lets you see what your product can look like and actually gives you a piece of marketing collateral you can go out and use this to give to your customers. So if there's one takeaway from today's webinar, it would be call in and order a mock-up from the team. That's no obligation to you. That's something free of charge that we give to prospects. So I think that's a great way for you to get a sense of what our branding can do. This second partner was a smaller partner, 3 employees, more of a break-fix solution provider. So with their customer base, when they came to us, they had around 10 small businesses, and then they had some home users. So their goals were to stabilize their revenue stream and then attract some larger clients. So with the help of our training program, they then took a lot of the material that we make available through the Partner Resource Center and through our training programs, put together various proposals for their customers, and signed a large government client, which ties back to what I was saying earlier, that government's a really good customer for this sort of technology. And Sign, actually, it's their largest customer to date, with 100 workstations and 5 servers. So this is an example of a small break-fix shop using our technology to become a managed service provider. And then this third case study is really an example of how to bundle the technology, and these guys have done particularly well. And their approach very much ties into the way we try and train our partners to sell online backup, which is to not sell online backup by itself. So when we look at the iPod's been extremely successful, but at the end of the day, it's not that amazing. It's actually a very expensive MP3 player with not much functionality and not much internal storage. If you compared it to the Zune player or the other MP3 players available on the market, from a hardware standpoint, there's nothing that impressive about the iPod. However, you don't look at the iPod like that. The iPod is just one piece of a solution, which is a pretty fantastic solution, including iTunes and now the iPad and all sorts of other peripheral technologies. But what you don't do is you don't pick up an iPod and say, this is a 16-gigabyte MP3 player for $300. Pick up a competitive 16-gigabyte MP3 player and say it's $100 and make a price comparison. So we use that as an analogy for what you shouldn't do when you're selling online backup. If you go into the market and you try and position online backup as a point product with a discrete price per gigabyte, you're going to find it very difficult to be competitive. Bundling is crucial, whether that's bundling online backup with existing products that you're selling, bundling online backup with services that you're selling, or creating a new service product bundle around online backup, which is what we've got. We actually, there's a lot of tools in the PRC available to do this. So with this particular partner that we've got here on screen, what they put together was a total business protection package. And what that included was coming into the business and doing a vulnerability assessment or a risk assessment, which they did using the SOS vulnerability scanner. It's a piece of technology we give you to do that. They put together a full 40-page disaster recovery plan for this business, for these businesses rather. And again, used our disaster recovery plan template to do that, which is available to you in the PRC. And then sold to that business an all-you-can-eat a la carte solution. So it was for $500 a month, we will provide you with total data insurance. So we will completely, we will analyze, deploy, and manage and recover anything to do with your data for business continuity purposes and disaster recovery. And by doing it that way, their margins have been excellent. So under the hood, they've still had to provision a certain number of gigabytes. So in most cases, what they actually did was provision 250 gig or 500 gig accounts. But they didn't position it like that when selling it to their customers. As far as their customers were concerned, it was an unlimited amount of data. It was just whatever they needed. And in doing that, this partner's been able to get 82% gross margin on products sold. So you can see down at the bottom right, the revenue stream that's been built is a $70,000 a year revenue stream with a cost of only $12,000 for $58,000 gross profit, which I think is an excellent example of putting all the tools and techniques that we give to you at SOS in practice. So if you look at what's being used there, the risk assessment, well, you use the SOS vulnerability scanner for that, and we can completely rebrand that for you. The disaster recovery plan, well, you use the SOS DR plan template that is in the Partner Resource Center. Obviously, the product of the software comes from us. Managing the servers, that's the SOS Blue Sky CES product that we give to partners to then on-sell to their customers to fully manage their servers. So all of the tools and techniques that were needed throughout that process came from SOS. If you also then look at this from a sales approach standpoint, our sales consultants are there to help you close those opportunities. So not only are we giving you the marketing material needed to generate the leads, but we're also then giving you the sales expertise to help you close those deals. So when you, from a holistic standpoint, the SOS Partner Program is very unique. It covers every single element of being in the online backup business, and that really is what sets us apart. On the screen there, that's just an example of the rebranded vulnerability scanner that I was talking about. But where's the slide I'm looking for? Here it is. So that when you look at our the competitive landscape,